much like D-Light, I believe in the power of love. We're going to talk about marriage and what it means on this episode of Mama We Made It. What up, man? Good morning. How you doing?
My brother, I'm well. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to be seen. Bro,
I'll see you live next week.
You'll see me live next week. We'll see each other live next week. I'll see you too. Looking forward to that. That's going to be good. I'm impromptu hang. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, man. Get some golf in. It'll be real nice. Yeah, bro. They whack the weeds over there.
My barber is excellent.
Okay.
Let me just say, Isaiah is a phenomenal barber. My barber is excellent.
Shout out to Isaiah.
I was traveling last week, and I had my clippers and edgers with me. Just trying to clean up the beard a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm detangling them, and I dropped them. The clippers didn't break, but the guard broke for the clippers.
Got it.
And the edgers broke, like a little T-liner, so I couldn't. So that didn't work at all. So I tried to freehand my beard with the clippers.
Got it.
And cut a hole in my shit. So I go to my barber yesterday, and I'm like, "Hey man, had a situation with my beard." He's like, "No problem, I got you. I'm gonna clean you up." And he does. He starts cleaning me up, and starts low and starts to fade. And he's halfway through the cut, and I hear him clip a guard on to the clippers. I'm like, "No worries." And I hear the first weed whack. I'm like, "Yo, I know a cut when I get one. That was a lot of hair, bruh." And before I know it, he's handing me the mirror like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "I think it's first day of school and I'm in 7th grade. What are you doing, man?" Like, but you can't tell him that. I said that to myself. I couldn't tell him that. So I walked out of there like, my God. And actually, I was at a spot yesterday and I ran into Astor Chambers. And the first thing he said to me, dapping me, I was like, "Yo, your hair is short." I'm like, "Bruh, I know. So
he thought he was doing you justice, huh?
What's that?
Was he just trying to repair a divot and that was his best route?
I didn't step to him like, "Yo, what'd you do to my hair?" Because it's a fine cut, whatever. I think he was saying in his mind, because the beard was messed up, let's just clean it all up and start new growth. So I'm going to say this is a summer cut, and I'm going to grow back into my head, so to speak. But, man, when I looked in the mirror, I was like,
I get it, bruh. It makes a difference. It makes a difference. You're still Reg to me, man. You're still Reg to me.
Bruh, I appreciate that, but I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled.
It's all good. It'll be back.
Hopefully it grows out sometime between now and, the next millennia. But dig it. Welcome to Mama We Made It with DJ and Reg. That's DJ. I'm Reg. We got an exciting conversation today. I think it's a fascinating one. I was at dinner with some people the other day, and a brother said, "Hey, what do we think of the institution of marriage?" And it led to a fascinating conversation. And I was like, wow. The opinions were all over the place. And I was like, we got to talk about that because I don't know what you think about marriage. I know what I think about marriage. I mean, the short answer for me is I'm a believer in marriage when it works. So we wanted to unpack marriage as an institution, what it means, our experience with it, as well as, particularly some of the data around success or not of marriages. So you have been married once.
Yes.
I have been married twice. I defer to you, man. We talked about this briefly on the phone the other day.
We did.
Open this up. Talk to me about marriage.
Would love to. And then we can maybe throw out a couple stats, before we go too deep that kind of brought us here as well. Definitely pro-marriage, Reg, without a doubt. For me, I would do it again, and I would look forward to doing it again. I think it's an institution that is grounded in love, but also alignment on a lot to do with financial and business, man. We can't ignore that. And I think at times, if we think it's strictly around love, I don't think that's the answer. So not unlike you, did a little bit of research. I'll throw some stuff out here, then I'd love to kind of flip back to you. I was really curious, Reg, what matters
Okay.
in terms of a successful marriage, and successful can be length of time, could be satisfaction. Kind of looked at both. So looked at things like how old were people when they got married, age, education level, and then length of courtship. You know what was crazy?
What's that?
None of them had a significant correlation to satisfaction or your ability to adjust within a marriage.
Okay.
The one thing that did, if you separated length of courtship into two parts, pre-engagement, post-engagement. Post-engagement had a negative correlation to marriage satisfaction.
So the longer you were post-engaged, the less likely you'd be satisfied in your marriage?
Let me repeat that. I misinformed you. It was a negative correlation, but yes, it was actually to the adjustment, dyadic adjustment. There was no correlation when it came to satisfaction. So the longer you were engaged, there was an inverse relationship to your either willingness, desire, ability to adjust to marriage. All that other stuff didn't really matter. So whether you were 20 or 50, whether you were a PhD or didn't graduate high school,
Okay.
that stuff didn't really seem to matter, man.
Okay.
I'll tickle a little bit what did, then I'd love to hear from you. So obviously, you know how we do. So what does matter? And two things which sound really intuitive, and it feels like it matters in anything that we do, is attitude and it's actions.
Okay.
Those are the things that matter. Togetherness, whether you had children or not, grandchildren, shared grandchildren, that was also part of it. But I can get into that a little bit further. I would imagine, based on how I know you and your wonderful wife, that you would say you were pro-marriage. Is that right?
I am absolutely pro-marriage. I am pro-love. Like, first and foremost, I am pro-love. I am a hopeful romantic. I've always been. I am pro-love. I am pro-love at first sight. I'm pro-growing love. I am pro-friends become lovers. Like, I'm pro all things that channel love into a relationship. I think that love is twofold. I think one, love is the divine, right? Like, to me, love is God in action.
Yeah.
So I'm pro-love. I am pro-marriage. I believe that, marriage, if you are fortunate enough and discerning enough to find and choose and hold on to the right partner, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's hard as hell, but I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that it is not necessary for healthy communities, but when it works well, it is a key component of healthy communities, because I think it provides the foundation that children are brought into and all the things that come from that. So I'm not a you shouldn't get divorced person. Like, if it ain't working, I am anti staying in marriage because it's, just cause. Like, I ain't for but the institution, yeah. And, for me, to your point around age of marriage is one of the things that may or may not be correlated. I got married first time at 26. And then, as everyone knows, my wife passed away. I waited 10 years. I got married the second time at 48, right? So, yeah, 48. And obviously, I was two different Regs, right? And
Right.
kids in
Right.
between and grad school and traveling and all the things that happened. So I'll unpack that down the road. But I am, excited about just having celebrated my 10-year anniversary. Like, that's a beautiful
Man,
thing.
congratulations.
In all the right ways. Thank you. For this exercise, though, before I go too far down the personal path, I did a thing that I don't normally do. I was in LA last week for an AI conference run by one of my boys, Alvin Bowles. Shout out my boy, Alvin Bowles. It was a great time.
Baby.
I got to learn a lot. I'm scared as fuck of AI. I don't trust it. I don't believe in it. But I came away from that week, changed in terms of how I think about it. And so I spent some time, with some prompts trying to dig into this and see, A, can I flex my AI muscle and figure out how to work it? And B, what could I find? And I found a ton of easy, accessible kind of, sources. So I ain't gonna say I'm an AI dude. This is a pitch, though. For anybody that wants to sponsor us, get at your boy. We can definitely take some money on that front. But I found a lot of things, and I won't even read through it all. I'll simply say I went through the lens of divorce rates to ladder up to marriage, why
I
people get
looked at that
married and
too.
whether or not it's working, right? So divorce rates rose sharply in the 70s and 80s
Yep.
before starting to settle down over the last 30 years. And a lot of that is attributed to social upheaval. Obviously, more women empowerment as well. I ain't got to stay around with these fools if I don't want to. The laws kind of relaxed, allowing women to get out of marriages that they chose not to be in.
Yep.
I'll boil it down to the thing that caught my eye. People who got married later in life, like post 30, and people who are in higher socioeconomic brackets tend to have longer marriages, lower divorce rates,
Okay.
right? And when you start to break that down, there's a weird thing that happens. On average, black folks get married later and have a higher divorce rate,
Yes.
right? And you start to peel that back, and it's another one of those things that shows you the pressure of societal forces, systemic forces on economic stability or instability, all the other stressors that add to it. And you get into some weird data sets around black folks get divorced at the highest rate, then Hispanics, then white folks. Asians stay married for basically forever. And it's fascinating, once again, that it maps to a lot of the other data that we've seen. So I was intrigued by that. A lot of the reasons for divorce, like on the other side of marriage, right, were lack of commitment to doing the work of divorce, of marriage, which is kind of what you were implying. Infidelity was in there, money problems were in there, and the inability to handle external stressors internally in the marriage were some of the key things. So I was fascinated by the data set on the divorce side. On the marriage side, I think that what I believe is the ability to find a life partner is everything in a relationship.
Yes.
You can go through life without one, and that's fine.
Yep.
For me, the muscle and the experience and the learning about myself, trying to show up as my best self in shared space has humbled me. It ain't easy. Um, I'm not an argumentative dude, but I'm a very passionate dude. So learning how to moderate myself to get to my better angels is a lifelong pursuit. But when it works, and it has worked twice for me in both spaces, the modeling of everyday love for people around me, particularly my children, my family, the community. It is not performative, like I'm not doing it for them, but the impact of that beautiful love in action. And I hesitate to say no, black love in action in particular is powerful, and it is. I
Yes.
won't call it a superpower, but it means a lot to me when I see old couples who've been married for 50 years and who can be honest, like, yo, I didn't always have it together, but we figured out how to make this work, and now I can't imagine my life being any differently. I love all those stories, but it ain't easy. It ain't for everybody, and I don't think you should be locked into it. So you shouldn't be stuck in it if it ain't working for you. But when it works, man, I'm a big fan.
You know, you said so many things, and I also did that, took that divorce path around research to amplify what you say. There's something in that Asian culture, man, where they feel like they're a unit. There's probably some stuff that's not so great as far as what the government has to say about things. But this thing too around not being distracted from your marriage, I think is really important. You know, we can commit to our jobs, we can commit to financial plans, we can commit to strategies. I think it's when we start to give ourselves an easy out in these marriages and relationships when we see a lack of success. You know, the other thing too, I would say, Reg, is it's funny because outside looking in, I know you well. I know Talisa fairly well. what's really interesting, man, as an outside observer and supporter, I can't imagine you guys not together. Like, as much as I've known you
It's
for
natural.
a really long time as an individual,
Yeah.
but I can't imagine you guys not being together. I wouldn't say that about all of the couples that I know. So I think that's an interesting observation. I'm going to double down on something, Reg, around, talked a little bit about positive attitude and actions. When I was trying to understand more about, okay, yeah, intuitively positive attitude makes sense, but what about attitude? And the research really brought to light commitment, respect, and then humor, which it makes sense. If you can look back on your, woman, loved one, wife, and one of the first things that come to mind is, you know what, we cracked up at. The research says it matters. And then as far as actions, the thing that were really emerging were open communication, compromise, support, and then kind of a sidelight was security. I feel secure to be myself.
Yep.
Right? To self-identify. Those sorts of things were really, really important. Was there anything you were surprised about? Either in the conversations you were having that led up to this or in the data itself? Anything blow your hair back? No pun intended.
I'm not going to reference that conversation specifically because it was a lot of sharing, right? So
Okay.
I'll pull back from that and simply say that I am intrigued by the challenges that successful, and by successful I mean women whose careers have really taken off. I'm fascinated by what their marital prospects look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they are, I know a lot of sisters who are just super, super, super impressive, right? Like have it going on a variety of fronts. And, looking at and listening to conversation around what their dating life looks like, and many of them are not married, what their dating life looks like, and some of the craziness that they deal with, not just the numbers game, right, in terms of male availability and partners that they seem to be intrigued by, but also the dynamics of dual income families, right, and all the things that go into that.
Mm-hmm.
So I am fascinated by how much ego plays a part in healthy relationships or not. I am fascinated by the ability to infuse some level of spirituality
Yeah.
into a healthy relationship. We can
Mm-hmm.
come at it from different religious angles, right? And so I know a lot of people who are inter-religious marriage, right? Christian, Muslim, Christian, Jewish. Those are interesting. I don't know how people necessarily work those types of intersections, so I'm fascinated by that. I think as much as anything, first of all, the humor point, huge, goes a long way. And the ability to laugh with and at each other is important. I'm struck by how many people stay married for the children.
It's a thing.
I'm struck by how many people
Yes.
stay married for the children, particularly in a world where children are way more discerning than we give them credit for.
Absolutely.
And bad juju in a room is obvious. And so it's a hard decision, right? The financial implications of marriage are also a thing, right? Like there's all of that. And, I want to pick your brain on the notion of a prenup. So we'll get to that in a second. But
Let's.
how many people stay together for the children is fascinating to me, sobering to me. And how many people, like, the minute, little Junior is graduating out the house, chop, chop, we out. It's fascinating to me. So I'm curious by that trend. Talk to me, man. Talk to me, man. Talk to me, man, about a prenup and your perspective on, let's just get this organized before we get into it.
I will. I'll definitely do that. I wanted to add one more piece that you brought up that I think is critically important. And this thing around I won't call it hyper independence. I think that's a term that's used. But this desire to be independent, I think you mentioned it was around 1980, at least the numbers I have, where divorce rates for women peaked. It's like 22, 23 per 1,000, something around it, right? And then it's kind of declined since then, even with now same-sex marriages, right, et cetera. Oddly enough, someone who I'm very close to now, she's in the financial industry, she shared with me that, man, it wasn't until 1974, through the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, that a woman could, in her own name, get her first credit card. So 1980, you start to see divorce rate. Nigga, I don't need you.
Right.
That was my money anyway. Right. So I just thought that was interesting. Prenup. Bruh. Travis. Hunter. My man. What are we doing, bruh? Yeah, wouldn't do it without one. And again, it's not just because I think I'm a mega billionaire, et cetera. That has nothing to do with it.
Just a simple billionaire.
But I'm in air, some kind of air. But I tell you what, man, I've worked hard for what I have. I've been blessed and I've worked hard. I'm not trying to give that away. While we're together, we can experience all of this together. I don't have kids, man. We ain't. And everybody's going to live good. But when we're done, we done. And the prenup to me makes it really clear what you do when it's over, what happens. So there are really those aspects of what are you bringing into the marriage? What does each person have a right to? That's both parties now.
Sure.
What do you accumulate together? And what do you accumulate individually while you're in the marriage? Those are sort of the three things that are in play. We can speak really openly. There was nothing in play for me. It was like, hey, look, you got great earning power too. You're doing real well, as am I. You might hit the lotto too. Are we good? And the answer was, we're good. So we signed that. And honestly, I think that's the best thing I could have ever done. I had a wonderful wife to this day. I think she's a wonderful woman. We weren't for each other, but it did make it easier to be clear around that reality. Not just to get out. So that's what I would say. Do you have thoughts on the prenup?
You know, it's fascinating, right? Because, marriage is a contract.
It is.
Right? There's no way around that. It's an agreement between two parties, offer and acceptance, all the things. For me, marriage is a covenant.
Yep.
More so than a contract, right? So there's three parties from my perspective. Like, it's me, my partner, and our higher power, right? And it is professed in front of an audience that we, ask for and welcome the divine into this thing and bind this in that space. And I've been blessed that has been the entry point for me. And at the same time, as I said at the front of this conversation, I am a hopeful romantic, right? And so the notion of a prenup has always been to me anathema to love the way I perceive it and realize it. And so I've never had a prenup. First time I got married, I was young and neither one of us had shit, so it didn't really matter. Talisa and I both, brought a lot to the party, so to speak, and we fell in love. We pushed it all to the middle of the table. Like, this is now all ours, and everything we build from this point forward is ours for the benefit of all those who come behind us. But if, God forbid, it shouldn't work out, I know her well enough, she knows me well enough that won't be an issue. It ain't gonna never happen. But our approach has always been full leap of faith that this is forever, that this is divinely ordained, And while that doesn't necessarily play in a court of law, right, you can't take that to the bank. It works for us, and there's a freedom and a comfort in that. And I love my lady, and we are tight beyond measure, and so I am blessed and humbled by that. And I don't say any of this with sense of arrogance or privilege, but it has not been a worry or concern for me. Though I've seen other people who didn't have prenups, who went in with all the love and all the best intentions, and their pockets were lighter on the backside. And so I recognize the reality of do what you got to do to feel whole and to feel secure. For me, if I'm talking prenup, I'm talking to the wrong person.
And I love that. And I think this is one of those concepts where I can 100% see how, again, actions and attitude matter a lot. And your comfort level, you and your wife's comfort level, makes a lot of sense to me.
Not to interrupt you, but to interrupt you, sorry. Let me just add to that, because you know this and you introduced us. Another story, I'll tell the world how grateful I am to you for both of my relationships with both of my wives and how critical you were in both of them. That's another podcast, but you know how I feel about you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Both times for me started as co-workers who became friends. Years went by,
That's
and
right.
then we became engaged and married in the whole
That's
9 yards.
right.
And so I am a big fan, tips, free game. Be friends first.
Yes.
The longer you can establish that friendship, the better your chances are of making it go the distance. And so whether that is learning to grow in love, whether that is suppressing the love to really solidify the friendship, however you get there, I can't overemphasize enough how important it is to have the rapport and trust of honest friendship to then let that bloom into something that turns into forever.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And that, man, what a study that would be, right? If you connect that with length of courtship. So prior to, what's the length of friendship?
Although we know somebody who were tight and they courted for a long time, got married, didn't last 9 months. I won't put no names on it, but we know somebody who, and we loved to death, used to kick it with them hard in another life.
Back in the day?
Back in the day.
I know who you're talking about.
And they kicked it, and it was a vibe, and we had glorious times with them, and they looked like a forever couple, and they got married. 9 months later, it was a wrap. I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
I know. But you always wonder, because the door is closed, right? And everybody leaves. And you always wonder what that dynamic is like. But it was crazy, as I know exactly who you're talking about. That was a surprise. That was probably made more sense after, right? You got more information, etc. But two wonderful people as far as I'm concerned.
Indeed, love them both.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned. But man, what a fascinating subject. The thing I would say, man, is just kind of on that prenup tip. I would hope for anyone who chooses to go down that route that it doesn't signal any sort of license to behave a certain way, et cetera, because I would hope people are taking this concept of marriage much more seriously than that. But there are people who have genuine concerns around, call it family, money, legacy. There are other things to think about that, at 22, we're probably not thinking about, don't have to.
Sure.
But it is, either way you go, man, it's a serious matter. I would say to anyone, because I'm looking at, Travis, and I hate to call my man out as an example, but, that could work out. And the next thing you know, hey, 50 years later, they're still running hard and free. But, brother, you got a lot to lose. She does not.
Are you saying they don't have a prenup? I missed that part.
Yeah, from my understanding, it's zero prenup. Zero. And, bruh, you ain't taking the field yet. So
a real happy-go-lucky dude, man. I just,
bruh. So, and we've already seen signals. I won't call them red flags, but they're pink. Boop. Yeah. So,
let's leave the people with something positive. Let's put something sunny on it at the end of this somewhat sobering conversation. We believe in the power of love. As
Go marriage. Go marriage.
I will say this. I was listening to some old Gangstar yesterday, and Discipline came on. I do believe that part of successful marriages is self-discipline. Your ability to be locked in, to be focused, to be humble, to be willing to do the hard work and not always be right, and be focused, man. Every day, day in, day out.
I would put it up there with anything, and literally had this conversation last night. Ladies, you want a man who's disciplined. Man, you want a lady who has discipline. I think discipline comes in many forms. Some of it is staying out of certain distracting situations. Some of it is, if you happen to find yourself there, the ability to walk away. And hopefully as we get older, our ability to be disciplined increases. But that discipline piece for me, I had the conversation last night. It's up there number 1 or 2 for me. And minimizing distractions. Like I don't really need to be distracted. Like that's not going to work for people. So
every partner deserves discipline, respect, and all the things. But
100%.
You got to be able to discern it. You got to want better for yourself. Like always, like constantly striving for better for yourself. I think I see a hand of our producer saying we're up against time. Bruh, this has been an interesting conversation. Thank you for sharing, man. Like, because this can be personal.
It can. Yeah. I might get a phone call, but you know what?
Right.
You know what?
Watch the guardrails. There was a fine print in that prenup that, all these years later, gotcha. That's DJ. I'm Reg. This is Mama. We made it. Hope y'all have a great day. Peace and blessings.
See you next time.